fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me.
Yo, what's up, family? So here's what I want to do. I want to break down over these next few weeks one of the major sales vehicles that business owners, entrepreneurs should use. That sales vehicle is going to be, we hear it all the time, webinars. Now, whether it's a webinar or a masterclass, don't matter what you call it or what you name it. Like, we'll at some point define the difference between workshop, webinar, masterclass. But first and foremost, let's develop the skill. Here's what I mean. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get caught up in semantics, right? Or we get caught up in the wording of something. So if you're developing the skill of basketball, once you develop the skill of basketball, it doesn't matter whether it is LeBron's playing one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whether he's playing one-on-one or whether he's playing 5-on-5. The skill is the skill. So when you're talking about masterclass versus webinar versus challenge, the skill is sales. The skill is developing a sales presentation, understanding sales psychology. Does that make sense for everyone? So
Yes,
without understanding how to, without understanding how the skill works, it does not matter what vehicle you're using, whether you're using a challenge, a webinar, a masterclass, an in-person event. The question becomes, do you know not just how to sell, but why people buy? This is the first note you ought to write down. Why people buy. Why people buy. Because majority of the time, and I want to be short, less than 30 minutes to make sure that you guys are getting it. When you start talking about why people buy, most people get caught up once again on, should I do a webinar? Should I do a masterclass? Should I do a 3-day challenge, a 5-day challenge? Should I do a 2-day summit, an in-person? So they think of tactical things of what should go in their slides, how their funnel looks, what should be the email, should we do funding, what should be the price, what should be the offer. So they're thinking of all the things to prepare for customers, but they never think about once the people you're looking for is there, if you haven't learned the human psychology of why people buy, then it don't matter what you do. It don't matter what you do. So 2 things I want to accomplish in this particular session. I want to have this conversation surrounding the teach to transition to pitch ratio. Like, how much time do I spend teaching? How do I transition in and out of it? And then what's the ratio into the actual pitch? So what is the teach to the transition to the pitch ratio? How much of each thing do I do? And then I want to also break down 3 rules you can't break if you want people to buy. 3 rules you can't break if you want people to buy. So I want to deal with both of those. If you jotting down notes, these are the first 2 things I want everybody to jot down and be prepared for. Okay. Make sure I close this out. All right. Let's rock and roll. Everybody follow me so far? Everybody wrote this down as your frame?
Yep.
Yes, yes?
Yep.
yes.
All right, dope. Let's start with rules you can't break. This is really pre-webinar and during it, because when I talk about this, rules you can't break. Number 1, you can't out-pitch, out-sell, or out-teach your lack of clarity. I'm going to make this super clear. So it's the clarity and confidence rule. Clarity and confidence rule. The moment you show up, so if I'm Wes and I'm showing up to teach, and I don't know specifically what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say, I haven't thought through people's objections, I haven't included it into my sales presentation, so I don't go in with a game plan, it doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to wing it into a place that a bunch of people buy. So now you're talking about a lack of clarity and a lack of confidence. You can't be confident in a space you're not clear. What makes business owners and what makes business owners, entrepreneurs, basketball players, what makes Steph Curry confident is the clarity of he know what he's doing. They asked him, I was watching the Gold to something like that. I can't remember what it was. The little thing on Netflix where they showing them at the Olympics. And they was asking him like, what gave him the confidence to take that shot? He said, I'll be honest, it was a bad shot. Well, kind of maybe. But he's like, I've done so many of those off-balance shots that to me it was a good shot. He said, he's practiced shooting with his body off balance. So if anybody else sees it and tries to do it, it's a bad shot. because they're going to see him and copy something that they haven't practiced. So his confidence, game on the line, playing for the whole United States of America against other countries on a global stage, 30,000 people. LeBron open, KD open. Why you take that shot with 3 people on you? Because I do it all the time. Like, hold on. Why wouldn't you pass the ball? Because I trust me. Why you trust you? Because I practice with my body being off balance because I know in the game it's not going to be perfect. This is why if tech goes bad, this is why if a person's time get cut from an hour to 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they thrown out, man, I ain't have enough time to do it. You would if you were clear. Because if I know exactly what I'm doing, I can condense an hour into 15 minutes. Why? I already know these are 5 things I'm gonna hit. Now I just spend less time on each. This is why the rule starts with confidence and clarity. Because if it throws you off, you enter into a room and you're expecting energy to come back from the audience. You're like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do call and response when I teach. What happens when you get on there's no call and response? What happens to your confidence? Come on, everybody drop it. What happens to your confidence? You get on, you're expecting energy, and you're like, and you practice it in your head. Okay, I'm gonna ask them this, and they're gonna go crazy when I do this, and it's crickets.
Yeah.
Your confidence goes down, your clarity of how you communicate your offer goes down, and the sales go down. Can you see how all 3 is connected? Because in order to get them to buy, you got to project the clarity that you have in your mind of your offer and what you're teaching, and project the clarity of your confidence. And because you believe, they believe, you're transferring that belief. This is why you can't. You're like, what does that have to do with webinar? Everything. Because I'm buying you. Hey, what do you think about this car? I mean, it's all right. I'll tell you another story. I'm at a restaurant. And I'm trying, and anybody ever been to one of those restaurants? I call them Chez Maurice, them real fancy ones where everything's a la carte. You know, you steak over here and they say, oh, we don't have any regular side, it's shareables. Well, I don't want to share with them. I just want my steak with my Brussels sprouts. You know what I'm talking? It's all shareables for the table. Y'all ever go to the restaurant? It's shareables for the table. I don't want to share with them though. Like I have no desire to share with them. I don't want no shareables. Oh man, you're like, I don't want a single shareable. No, just tell me what's for me. Right. Now, here's what happens, Cecilia. Here's what happens with the shareables and all that good stuff. You ask the waiter, hey, so which one of these should I go with? Like sometimes you ask the waiter, which one of these should I go with? The waiter then is gonna tell you something like, well, if they're a good waiter, they tell you which one. If they're not a good waiter, I mean, they're all pretty good. Now you got no confidence on what to order on the menu because they sound so blah on everything they're talking about. You sitting there wondering, like, hold on. So which of these should I go with? Why am I giving this example? When you're teaching people, whether you got an in-person brick and mortar, whether it's a webinar, an offer, a service, a person is coming to you based on your skill and expertise for you to give them a suggestion like a doctor of what will work best for the pain they have. So you can't be blah on what you're pitching. If you're West talking about stocks, you have to have a level of certainty and a level of clarity that matches what they're experiencing with what you've already diagnosed or assessed that they should have. So if using with the restaurant example, hey, what's the best thing on the menu? Hey, tell me what category. Do you eat fish? Do you eat chicken? Or are you vegetarian? I'm vegetarian. Okay. Best thing for vegetarians is this. Best thing for this is this. Part of an offer creation in the beginning of webinars is for you to segment an audience. And in a second, I'm going to walk us through all 5. But that segmentation gives you clarity of what to say to who. And I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to back it up so you get it. If I'm teaching and there's 7,000 people in the room, if you don't use any segmentation, how can you be clear on who you're talking to and what issue you're dealing with? And without that clarity, you have no confidence. You have to divide and segment the room in order to be able to communicate with them. Everyone has that. Does everyone have that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Keeping with that same thing. So rule number 1, clarity and confidence. You don't show up in any room that you don't have an extreme clarity surrounding specifically what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish. All right. Number 2, every sale is won in the first few minutes, not the last few minutes. Every sale is won in the first few minutes, not the last few minutes. The average person believes that they're not pitching their webinar, pitching their offer until the end of their webinar. So they place no emphasis on anything other than the last 15 to 20 minutes or the last 5 or whenever they get ready to tell somebody what they're selling and how much it costs. How many of us have made this mistake? How many of y'all made this mistake? Because here's how you see your stuff. You see your stuff as teach, tell them about the offer. Who's made that mistake? The only thought process you have surrounding when you're selling is at the end when you reveal the name of it and the price of it. Now, here's what has to happen. If you don't have these seamless hooks throughout your presentation and there is zero emphasis that you are putting on the first few minutes, how are you hooking people to stay to the end, learn the information, or hooking them into why they need you or need what you're going to sell? Y'all following?
Yes.
So rule number 1, all sales starts with a transfer of clarity and confidence. Rule number 2, the most important part is the first 15 minutes, not the last 15 minutes of your presentation. And rule number 3, this is going to be really tough. This is going to be really, really, really tough. Oh, this is going to be really tough. I'll explain it first and then tell you the segmentation of it. People don't buy really coaching or courses or services or any of those things. They buy what I say all the time, solutions to problems, answers to questions. So if you are trying to communicate in a way that sells a course, you're losing sales. If you're trying to communicate in a way that sells a coaching program, you're losing sales. If you are communicating the entire time, imagine this flow. Let me show you. Let me get to my screen really quick. Imagine this type of flow. Can everyone see my screen? Drop a 1 if you can see my screen. So imagine this flow while teaching. Let's say you're teaching 3 secrets, right? So we're going to use this pencil. So, hey, I got 3 secrets or 3 main things I'm teaching. That's the 3 things you're teaching. Imagine when you're crafting the flow of what you're teaching, it looks more like this. Their question, your answer. Their question, your answer. Their question, your answer. That's more of a teaching segment. I'll tell you what I mean. If I'm teaching the 3 things that you need to have a successful webinar, question number 1, how do you get people in the room? So in this webinar, I'm going to teach you, number 1, how to get people in the room to show up for your webinar. Question number 2, how much teaching should I do? Question number 3, how do I close the sale? Those are the 3 things I teach based on the questions. Are y'all following?
Mm-hmm.
It's not teach whatever you want, teach my whole system, teach my whole framework. You're not ready to teach until you can figure out what is the questions that you're answering in your actual workshop in your webinar. So now you're teaching. I don't mind you talking about your system, but your system should fit in the buckets of specific questions they have. Now it relates to more situationally what they're experiencing. So selling becomes easy. So now look at this. Just look at how this looks. Somebody drop in the chat. What's some of the things you teach? What's some of the stuff you teach? Drop it in the chat. What's some of the stuff you teach? What's some of the things you teach? How to fire your boss. Now, turn that into a question. Is a person saying, how do I fire my boss? Or is that question more layered and more specific to their specific situation? Can I quit my 9 to 5? Can I afford to quit it? How do I replace, if I quit my job, how do I replace the income? That's more of the question. Do you see how number 3 brings us back to number 1, a level of clarity? Because I know, just look at this. If I have already written it out as a question and my teaching is built around what I'm doing, what I know, what my offer is, and I'm answering that specific question, how to navigate 1099 contracting. What's the questions they have? Is it how to get started? Is it how to negotiate? Is it how much to charge? If it's all of them, when you're crafting this, what you're packaging and what you are specifically packaging and selling is a person's questions all put together, and now you're answering in the teaching. So by the time you get to the offer, your offer is going to break down all the pieces in one. This is so good. This is so good. Now, I got to move because I just built on that first part. This is only the first part. Are y'all with me so far on just the 3 rules? On just the 3 rules. Rule number 1, the first thing that has to happen is you can't show up without clarity and confidence. If you're unclear on specifically what you're doing, what you're teaching, what you're talking about, and why people are there and why they're buying, if you're second guessing that, you don't have confidence to sell. We broke down rule number 2. The emphasis you put on your webinar cannot just be on the first few minutes of what you're going to teach and the last few minutes. It's all one and the same. The moment you start teaching, you're selling. So that has to be in mind. Rule number 3, people aren't interested in buying courses and coaching programs. So your approach to sales is to, if you can't specifically know the questions that they have, you can't answer them with your teaching. All right. Now that we got that first piece, let's get into the foundation of it. There are 5. All I'm going to do is teach the foundation today. And then next week, I'll go into more of the tactical things. We're just talking about the foundation of a webinar. There are 5 parts to this sales presentation. 5 parts. Let's start jotting these down. Connect. And I'll unpack each of those, and then I'll take a few questions. Connect, clarify, communicate, close, and confirm. Connect, clarify, communicate, close, confirm. Now, this is going to look something like this. These 5 parts are going to look something like this. Now, those other parts that we mentioned, let's go be these shaded transitional areas like that. So I'm going to draw again and make it a little better. So if we made this connect, and I'll tell you what goes in each. That second part would be how we fill in, how these can overlap to each other. Communicate would then go right here. That other part would be this little space right here, and this will be closed. So it'll look more like this. Connect, communicate, close in the larger circle. So I'm going to draw it one more time. Connect. Communicate would be here, and this is a more accurate picture of it. Uh-oh, bad writing. let me draw this. Let me write this a little better for you. Communicate. Oh, Lordy, what's up with my writing? And this would be close. Connect, communicate, close. Now, those other 2 that I mentioned, which we'll talk about in a second, clarify and confirm, these are more so in these gaps right here, these little gap spaces. So let me explain what I mean so you know what happens in each one. When you begin and you start with connect, your number one goal is to set the temperature of the room to match what environment you would need to teach and to sell. Every one of us has a primary, or I'm going to use the word optimal environment that we're comfortable teaching in. I am a call and response conversational style teacher. Some people are perfectly fine with teaching with just a PowerPoint, reading word for word, not interacting with people, only interacting with the information. Has anybody ever seen somebody teach that way? Where even virtually, where it's the person and their slides and you're kind of a spectator of the presentation just watching it. That's not my particular style. I'm more conversational, that anything I'm talking about, it remains open. Each part of what I'm doing, it's call and response. The person, it never feels like I'm talking at them. It feels like a conversation I'm having with them. Now, tonight, I'm teaching a little differently, but My typical style is that. Now, if I know I need that temperature of the room to be call and response and reactionary and people to respond to my words and connect, my job is to set that temperature. So that means I begin the workshop not by, well, congratulations and welcome to everybody that's in the room. If you can just drop what city and state you're from, that's generic, that's general, that's not temperature setting. That's just filling time. Why do I need people to drop the city and state if the thing that I need from them is a call and response that we'll use throughout? Why not? What's up, fam? So here's what I need. I need everybody to come off mute and to say such and such and such. Now, I'm the type of person that I don't need you all to sit quiet. I know y'all are not used to talking back on Zoom. And for those of you who are black screen, I'm super big on us interacting and connecting to each other. I'm setting temperature. First thing I told you was you can unmute. That's different. Second thing I told you is that come on screen and I'm telling you why. Third thing I'm telling you is the way this is going to work, y'all. Everything I'm teaching you, I'm going to pause in real time before I move forward to make sure everybody gets it. So what you're going to notice today is you're going to have to be ready to come off mute. You're going to have to be ready to ask questions because this is more workshop. That's temperature. Whatever environment that I need in order to teach, connect is I'm connecting you to me, me to you. This is what it's going to be. Now, if I say anything throughout the presentation you could feel, I just need you to drop mob in the chat. That's our call and response. Can we practice real quick? I'm still setting temperature. For each of you, I think what happens sometimes is you allow people to come into a space and not know what is normal behavior for the room you built. What's normal behavior for the room you created? And if you can't, now I'm gonna say it again. What is normal, acceptable behavior for your room, for your environment? Is it okay to talk back? It's like the difference. Now, y'all know I grew up black church. So in black church, it's weird if you sitting there and don't nobody say nothing the whole time. if Rev don't hear no, can I get an amen? If Rev don't hear, that's right. I'm talking. I went to church yesterday, and in the middle of church, there's people that'll just stand up and walk to the stage. Now I've gone into other environments where this is the appropriate response at the right time. Silence. You don't scream and talk at the stage. That ain't what you do. But black church is like a football game, ain't it? Get him, wait. Now, I love it. I love both. Now, how does a person set a culture that normalizes people feeling okay talking to the preacher? Because they set that temperature. Now, if that person has set a temperature that feels comfortable with people talking back and people don't, they feel weird, like, dang, is something wrong with the message? So they lose clarity, they lose confidence because they're wondering, is the crowd connected to me? The connection you're looking for that makes it possible for you to teach better is you setting the temperature to let people know what's normal and acceptable behavior. So like that disconnect, that weirdness, that awkwardness, that over redundancy when people, right? So we're going to go into, guys, right? Is everybody with me? You guys okay? That the redundancy and the repetition you hear in speakers is because they've lost connection to the audience. It's like you not having a signal and you're trying to figure out if the person can hear you and see you. Just imagine FaceTiming somebody and you don't know if they can hear you or see you. Would you feel comfortable talking, or would you spend most of the time wondering, are they hearing what you're saying? That's what happens when you start, and you don't start with this part we just overly emphasize, connect. You set no temperature. You did not set normal behavior environment. You didn't build culture and momentum. I don't know what's appropriate. I don't know if I'm supposed to, because here's what happens. You're not the first webinar and you won't be the last today of 10. So they're going to treat you how they treated other people. And if you need them to do something different, you need to tell them that. Connect. Can everybody already see this first piece is a game changer? Can everybody already see just this first piece alone?
Yes.
Does everybody see this first piece, how it changes things for you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I heard one person say yes. Yes, no. Come on.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now that we set temperature and connect, let's move forward. Let's move forward. Next part is communicate. This is when you're actually teaching, but in between the connect and communicate, this is transition. So remember I showed y'all, let me show you visually again so you get it. There's a little space right here. This is that transition that gets me from connect to communicate. So we said step 2. This is where you clarify. This is where you clarify. Now I want to explain. Let's draw them again so everybody's following. Uh-oh, come on, thing. This is going to be connect. This big circle is going to be communicate. That's where your teaching is, your 3 circles. And this smaller space, excuse me, it's going to be close right here. So this would be clarify. I'm going to draw it upside down just so y'all can see it. That little space fills that. Now, what happens when you're clarifying? This is where segmentation happens. I'll tell you what I mean. Traditional marketers are going to say something like this. And y'all could tell I got a problem with traditional marketing and just the copy and paste language that everybody uses. Like, this is the language that everybody uses. Like, people got to be tired of this. So the first thing we're going to do is show you how to create your irresistible offer. Second, we're going to show you how to attract your dream client. Third thing we're going to show you how to do is how to convert and close more sales. And fourth thing we're going to show you as a bonus, how to monetize. If every place you go, you hear that same generic irresistible offer, attract your dream client, how to convert and close, and how to monetize. Family, that's not how you transition from connect to communicate by just telling them what you're going to teach them. Before you move into communicate, clarification is how you segment the room. Why? To see who's where, because it gives you clarity. So it should sound more like this. Hey, so normally when I'm talking to people in my program, 5 Figure Months, I typically am helping people who, now let me put a pin in that right there. That little piece right there is actually seeding. Although I'm not selling to them yet, I'm telling them the people who already bought from me. So when I'm teaching my clients, usually there's 2 types of people that are in 5 Figure Months, and they're in there because they come to me when they're ready to. I'm already framing to the audience what people come to me to work with me on. In that clarifying space, I'm framing me, and then I segment the audience. Please pause and write this down. Frame yourself, segment the audience. I'm gonna show you how to do both. I'll show you how to do both. I know you guys are writing this down. Frame yourself, segment the audience. Now, some of you might, but what's a frame? I got you. Ask the question. I'm not going to answer no questions you ain't asking. Ask the So you frame yourself, you segment the audience. Now, here's what this is going to look like. Frame yourself is how you indirectly are selling without selling. If I'm transitioning from the connect part, I've set temperature. Now, before we get started, I want to just make sure I know who's in the room, because here's when our clients normally come to me when they already have something to sell, but they're like, man, I'm not getting enough leads. So they know, man, my income goal is $20,000, $30,000 or $10,000. But man, how do I find the people that have the money to pay and that want what I have to offer? Anybody in that space, drop a 1. That's segmentation number 1 while clarifying who I help. Now, they also come to me when they need predictability in their revenue. What do I mean by that? We teach a monthly launch. And here's why we teach it. We teach a monthly launch because most people know how much they owe in bills each month, but not how much money they're going to make in their business. So we showed them how to every month. Who would this help if you knew every month exactly what you was doing and had some predictability to guarantee how much money you're going to make? Now, you can make more, but to have a baseline to say, almost like, for my business, this is how much my business get paid every single month. What if your business income was as predictable as your job paycheck? The monthly launch does that because it creates a monthly cash flow day or entrepreneur paycheck. So we show you how to generate 3 types of leads for the 3 types of buyers. Because if you're not getting leads that match buyer type, you get the wrong leads on your list. Then we show them how to do the monthly launch to convert those leads, and then a sales system to know what to say. So I want to just ask really quick, drop a 1, 2, or 3. Where do y'all feel like you are? You, number 1, Marcus, I need more leads. Number 2, I need that monthly launch. I need a way to predict the revenue of my business, know exactly what I'm doing. Like most people don't know what they're doing each month, or I need more of a sales system. Who's 1, 2, or 3, or are y'all all 4? Can everybody see what I just did? I just framed me by really breaking down my offer. And then I just segmented the room to see who's dealing with what. Are you 1, 2, 3, or all 4? Can everybody see why clarify is so important in the transition before you start teaching? Connect, set the temperature. Clarify, I'm getting you clear on who I am, what I do, and getting clear on who's in the room. Now imagine you do that, right? And you have 4 segmentations: need leads, need a monthly lunch, need sales, or all 4. If everybody in the room drops a 1, you have clarity in your mind of who you're talking to and what pain point you're talking to. If everybody drops a 3, you now know who you're talking to. You get it? Like, I pray y'all are tracking with this. If you don't, like, no one teaches this, so people just jump at it and then just ask people city and state. Why you need them folks city and state? You a tour guide? Okay, all right. Chicago in the building. All right, LA in the building. Charlotte. Oh, Charlotte in the building. Shout out to Charlotte. Yeah, okay. Houston. All right. Oh, all right. We got Costa Rica. Oh, we international. We international now. Why'd you need that? I'm not saying don't do it. But what I'm saying is you have no clarity of why you're doing it. Don't do nothing that you don't know why you're doing it. If you don't know why you're doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. It's business. And anything that doesn't have a data point you can track, you don't know if that's helping the sale or hurting the sale. So the fact that you're doing something without knowing specifically how it's tied to the conversions of a room, you could actually be doing something you saw other people do. And that thing that you're doing could actually be driving sales down instead of up. And it'll have you sitting there like, yeah, I guess people didn't have the money. No, they had it. I'm not saying asking what city and state. Let me make sure I clear this up because people overthink. I'm not saying that's going to hurt your sales, right? I'm not saying that. But there are so many other things that we do that we saw other people do that we think that the price hurt the sale when it could have been some of the other things or the ways that we presented the information or statements, et cetera, that we've seen other people do. That's the clearer point. Okay. All right. Chicago in the building. All right, New York City. Okay, yeah, I've been to New York a few times. I got some family out there. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. Are y'all catching this clarify piece?
Yes.
Now, what you're finding out with the way I'm teaching it to you, every piece of the puzzle is interconnected. No wasted movements, no wasted efforts. This is just the 5 pieces of it, right? So we framed ourselves. You're like, Marcus, how could I do this? Whatever you're selling in the clarifying space, what do you help people do? What do you help people do? If you're a person who helps women who are rebounding from a divorce, get their confidence back and regain a structure around their life to adjust to their new normal, connect, set the temperature. Guys, listen to what connect would sound like for that person. This woman who has an empowerment movement and an offer that women can work with her for 12 weeks and after that be in her membership and attend retreats. You got it? That's the offer. In her offer, she teaches them 3 components: regaining your confidence, finding yourself, and replacing the income of a 2-person household. You hear how clear that is? Look at Kathleen. You hear how clear that is?
That's good.
Now, what does she need to do in connect? Guys, now I know you're used to workshops and webinars and things of that nature, but this is a safe space. If you need to cry, you can cry. If you're in your bedroom, you can come off camera. So before we even get started, I want everyone to go around that's in the room or to drop in the chat what you're grateful for. I also want you to drop one thing that you're happy about yourself. Because this is the time you get to be selfish and focus on yourself, setting the temperature. Notice how the temperature feels warm, temperature feels welcoming, temperature feels supportive. Because that's the environment needed to sell. Ooh, did you catch that? Now, if you're about to move from the connect, where you said temperature, and to communicate, to teach, you got to clarify. Now, before we can get into this, guys, my clients come to me and I just want to see who's in the room to make sure we're properly aligned. When they're either just filed for divorce, just found out that their husband filed for divorce, either for infidelity or for abuse. And the biggest struggle that my clients are facing is, how do I replace the income of me and my husband, or me and my lover? Or so they're trying to, like, they love the person, but they got to think money first. How do I get used to having sole responsibility for me and my child? And then they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I work on me? How do I get back out there on the dating scene? Am I emotionally ready to date again? Clarify. Now the person is clarifying in that space. This is who I am. This is who I help. I don't know if y'all are getting this. Because can you see how the person already hears your offer? In the first 5 to 10 minutes of the presentation, they've already heard your offer. They're hearing, these are the three, they're hearing, here is how I help people. Here's what I help my clients do. Inside of my program, such, because they come to me when they need this, and I help them do this. You, in essence, just pitched your offer in the beginning. I don't know if y'all get how good this is.
We do. It's very helpful, Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Now, guess what else it does for you? I'm going to go back to my rules. Your confidence goes up because you're going to see people respond to you saying what you helped them do in your offer. Oh my God, this is good. Oh my God, I need that. You ain't got no lack of confidence to wonder do they need your offer, because in the beginning when you clarify, you just told them the offer and what you help people do, but you didn't call it an offer. Oh my God, definitely need this. Exactly what I needed. Now you clarify what you do. Now listen to this segmentation. Now, who in here, that's what you need? The thing you're thinking is, man, I'm there right now. Need to figure out how to replace the income of a 2-person household. Or it's, hey, I'm trying to really get back to a new normal when I'm used to having somebody around, or that third one. Drop a 1, 2, or 3, or all 4. Now the room just told you that they're the ideal client for the offer you just told them that you have. Now, this is why I teach it this way. This is ethical selling. If you sell any other way, it's unethical, because you are writing a prescription for people when you sell them something. You're saying, based on what you're experiencing, this is what you need. If you don't know what they need, how can you prescribe them your offer? Ethical selling is when I am offering people the thing that they're looking for or need, not when I'm trying to get them to buy something that I want to make my income go up. I got to pause here, because one of my number 1 rules and goals and company missions, and Christian can attest to this, is to bring integrity and ethics back to the coaching space. To stop the false scarcity of people lying and saying they only have limited spots when they don't, pretending that they offer something that they don't, to bring integrity back, right? Now, in order to do this, it's where I've already thought, it's where you're in the clarifying space, you have preemptively thought through what it is that you're actually helping people do. What are the questions and how you go about doing that? You're not selling them something and then on the back end trying to think through, okay, how do I fulfill on this? Now, let me pause on this so you catch this. Everybody has an income goal. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody want to make money. Nothing wrong with that. But here's how you get better at this. Attached to the amount of money that you want to make is made up of a number of people who made a sacrifice and bought something from you. I'm going to say it again. Attached to the amount. So if you make $10,000 in a day, that's made up of a group of people who pulled money out of their household from work that they did to invest to work with you. That frame creates the empathy needed for you to care enough to make sure that the offer matches and serves that household. If you ain't thought at that level, you stealing. You don't earn or deserve people money if you don't think through, what does it take for me to invest $5,000 with you? Emotionally, mentally, the nervousness, if I'm married, I got to have a full conversation with my spouse, babe. And most people have invested before and it didn't work. So now I got to go back to my spouse when we've invested before in programs that didn't work that I complain to that spouse about. Babe, trust me one more time. This was going to work. When you hear people brag about a 6-figure, 7-figure day, nothing wrong with it. It's a huge accomplishment in business. But that number is made up of people who sacrifice by paying to work with you. Never forget that whatever result you get is anchored in people who sacrifice. So I made 6 figures. How much was the offer? 10,000. So 10 people paid you $10,000. Don't be in such a rush to focus on the 100,000 that you forget it's made up of 10 people who took $10,000 away from their legacy, their savings account, put it on a credit card to invest with you because of a promise you made to them. Keep your word, fulfill the promise. Keep your word, fulfill the promise. Keep your word, fulfill the promise. Can we all agree that we are going to be an active part of bringing integrity back to the space? We won't sell nothing that we have not thought through that is best for people that serves them. We're not going to offer it and forget the fact that you bragging about your income goal means that someone else sacrificed somebody's, let me go even further. Someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's sister, someone's aunt. That's somebody's family member. On the end of your transaction, your Stripe account, your Square account, your wire transfer is someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's sister, someone's family member. So you honor that by the way that you show up for them, aligning what you do with what they need. All right, I got to get us out of here. Keep your word. Keep your word. Keep your word. Who all agree we're going to do this? Who all agree we're going to do this?
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Agree.
Agreed.
I agree.
Now watch this. How much confidence do you have in selling when you know your intentions are pure to help people?
100%. 100%.
Integrity helps the sale because you know you are doing something that honors people and helps people. Truth that leaves the heart reaches the heart. You ain't got to figure out where to put it. One of the ways, now I'm skilled, I got processes, but one of the ways people say, man, how are you so good at sales? Because I never lie. Truth is one of the superpowers of sales that people can't just conjure up. Listen, the competency of the sale sits on top of the character of the person. All right. Let's get through at least these 5 things. I don't want to get long-winded with it because we got a long day today. All right. So we right back here. Connect, clarify, which would be, let me go down right here, that little space. Now communicate. Now we're ready to teach. I don't have time to go through the whole thing as it relates to teaching. I can do that another time or in part 2 or in part 3 or part 4. But ultimately, the best way to teach is think through when you're preparing your slides, what specific question are you answering? So if you say, I know what I'm going to teach, and you got this whole list of things you want to teach, filter your teaching through specific questions people have. So if you were to take, if I were to take, let's just say this is a bucket, right? Of course it's a square, but it's a bucket. How to build your online business. That's the segmentation. What are the questions underneath this? Somebody throw out some questions. Let's fill this in. Let's do this as a real exercise. What are some of the questions somebody will have about building their online business?
How much it take to start up?
Startup capital. Like how I get money to start.
What to
Okay?
sell?
Somebody else. What should I sell?
Where do I get an audience from?
All right. So I would have to turn that into a clearer question. Like, man, where do I find the people? So who do I sell this to? Who to sell? What if I don't, should I wait until I have an audience? Like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like timing. I'm gonna just write it quick. Should I wait until I have an audience? That's a question. How many followers do I need? How much should I charge? All of those questions are underneath this. So if I'm segmenting bucket 1, I got to figure out in my teaching, for each segment, if I'm teaching 3 things, it should be a bucket where you think through the questions and you got to extract how many questions are you answering under each bucket. It's the only way to get the teachings clear. Can't answer all of it. So if I'm only answering 2 out of the 5, but I know my offer answers all 5. So guys, here's what we're going to do throughout this teaching. I'm going to break down number 1, 2 specific questions I'm going to answer. Now there's 5 questions you would have if you're trying to build your online business. But these are those 5. Let me show you really quick on this slide. Who has these 5 questions? That's the slide. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to answer these 3. Make sense? So you're letting them know you have all 5, but you answer the 3. You're going to do this for each part of your teaching. So if you say how to build your online business, if this part is how to launch, if this is how to master sales or client retention, what questions go underneath these? This is how you map out the 3 things you teach. You put them in containers or labels or buckets, and then you find the questions people have around it and you extract that, and that's what you teach. Now, this should be connected to what's in your offer. You're like, Marcus, how do I figure out the answer? Don't answer nothing in your presentation that you don't already have in your offer. Don't answer anything in your presentation you don't already have in your offer.
I like that.
Now, we got 2 more segments of just this, but I'm going to just pause right there because I've already over-talked longer and more than I wanted to. Here's what I'm going to do. In part 2 of this training, I'll go ahead and finish. This is what we did. We did this, connect. We did clarify. We did communicate. That's part 1. Now, part 2, I got a couple things to cover. I got to do the teach to transition ratio, and I got to finish this part. We got to go close, and we got to do confirm. What's included in those segments. And that's the 5 parts of a webinar. That's 5 parts of a webinar or a masterclass or a workshop. Now, who already just based on this basic premise that we simplify this enough? That's my goal now, to simplify for people. Did we simplify this a little more for you all?
Definitely.
Yes,
Yes.
you did.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. What questions can I answer for you? I want to take a few questions.
Hello, I have a question. This
Give
is
it to me.
Lynetta. I want to know, for the month of February, are you going to post any recordings? Because I know I
Am I
missed
gonna what
a
now?
couple post any recordings. Because I know I missed a couple of weeks last month to watch, and I went to try to see if there were recordings for it, and it just has all of January, nothing for February.
Just send an email to support. Anything, all of our stuff has replays for us. So just send a message to support, and they'll make sure you're taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Everything else I'm
Anybody else?
soaking in.
Yeah,
Say
I
it one
have
more
a
time.
question.
I said everything else I'm soaking in.
Oh, dope.
I have a question.
Give it to me.
So how would you reframe if a question is asked about something that is taught in your mentorship program? Like if they do ask a question at the end, like how would you like kind of guide them to like, this isn't my mentorship program. I'm not answering this or something like that.
Let me ask this: Do you do a coaching Q&A at the end of your webinar regarding what you taught, or are you doing a Q&A regarding your offer? How are you doing your Q&As?
Both in a sense. Should I not be doing both?
It's up to you, but I more than likely wouldn't be if I just finish. Depends. I don't mind you doing a Q&A to support people if that's what the goal of it is. But if the goal is a sales presentation, I would probably teach, present the offer, the opportunity, any questions, and then go into any questions regarding the offer.
Got it. Okay.
Now, if you're going to open up questions regarding specifically what you taught, frame it for them and say, hey, so I'll take a few questions specifically based on just what I taught. Well, if you already taught it, it's not going to be a question that's related to that. It's going to be a question in the frame of, so a person say, well, my question isn't about what you taught, it's something different. Hey, hold on one sec. We got to keep it in the context of this. I don't want us to get off track of what we taught today because I'm only teaching this. Why would I go off a beaten path for what I showed up to teach to answer the questions regarding some of everything else and confuse the whole room? Because what you're forgetting is that person is robbing the room because the room gets confused. It takes them out of a space that you had the whole room in. If you're the leader of a room, if you're an advisor and you're advising people on a particular thing, you normally are doing it in their best interest. So like right now, if somebody's asked me, hey, so my question isn't related to structuring a webinar, it's about ads. I'm not answering no questions about ads because we didn't just talk about that. And I'm not going to be rude, but it's like that. You want, does that make sense? Are you following me,
Yeah, that
Emily?
makes sense. Thank you.
Now, you also need the confidence to answer people. And sometimes the answer is your program. Most people think that's wrong to answer that way. So if you say right now, hey, so my question specifically, I just need help with like, I'm doing webinars, been doing them a long time, but I don't know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. I just need you to put my eyes on it. Is there a way you can watch my webinar and help me out with it? If I offer that inside of my program, the answer is no. So guess what the answer is to what that person's asking? It's my program. Hey, do you know of any place that I can get more support and more help with what you just taught today? Yeah, me. Most people are afraid to say that they're the answer, but they are. Hey, so I love what you were teaching. Are there any books you would recommend? No. This is something that I've created that I teach inside to my clients or to my students. You're asking me to recommend a book to teach you more of what you just learned from me. Why not learn it from me? Are y'all catching this?
Definitely.
People are afraid to communicate that they are the answer. That's not rude. It's not arrogance. It's not ego tripping. It's not any of those things. If this is EYL's shirt, if you came up to me and said, oh my God, I love that shirt. Do you know where I can get one of those? Oh yeah, you can buy one off of EYL's website. That wouldn't be rude. That'd be nice. Why, when people ask you about something that you offer, you don't point them to you? Hey, where can I get one of those hats? Man, that's nice. The mall? No, Entrepreneur Speakers is my brand. You can buy it from me. But we don't do that with our offers. We think it's rude to let people know that what they're asking us the question about, they can get more of it if they want more of it from us. Am I losing y'all with this? Are you catching this? Is that a mental shift for some of you all to hear this?
That's good.
Yes. Are y'all
Got
catching
it.
it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who's